all-new Yamaha V6 Offshore F350. It's a featherweight knockout, the lightest 350 horsepower outboard on the water, exhilarating boating and incredible control in a powerfully light design. The Yamaha V6 Offshore F350.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's May 16th. These are your headlines. Got the first big bluefish showing up this week. We've also heard about the first 50-pound striped bass. And Fluke action just starting to fire up in Rhode Island waters. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one is about sea bass season in Connecticut, which opens up this weekend on May 18th. Connecticut has the best sea bass regs in New England. We've got a 5-fish limit with a 16-inch minimum size, and just got a little wrinkle in the season there. It's going to close for a couple weeks at the end of June and into the beginning of July. We'll keep you updated on exactly when that happens in this report, but I just want to let you guys know it opens this weekend. Next thing is the latest installment of Jenni Ackerman's Open Boat. Here she is.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Now today I'm going to be showing you guys a little fishing tip. I've had a lot of younger anglers or beginners who are just getting into the fishing game ask me, Jenni, what's a good knot? I'm losing my plugs, they're flying off every cast or they're popping off on a fish. I'm not a pro with my knots. What's a good beginner's knot to help me not lose so much stuff? So today I'm going to show you guys how to tie a uni knot, which can be connected to your plug, a TA clip, or a barrel swivel. And then I'm going to show you a uni to uni knot, which virtually eliminates that barrel swivel. Now for starters, the type of leader material I use is Andes. So there's the Andes fluorocarbon, and then there's just the regular leader material. So depending on where I am, if I'm targeting stripers in the surf, I could do like 30 pound up to 40. Usually if there's bigger fish around off the surf, or if I'm land-based fishing, I'll use 40 pound leader material or fluorocarbon. But if I'm fluking, I'll do like 30 pound. It all depends on the areas you're fishing and what's around you. Like area-wise, are you flinging fish over a canal or over a lifted area, or are you just landing fish off the surf? It all depends. So first, I'm going to show you the uni knot. Now, I encourage you guys to pause this video, go get yourself some leader material or whatever you're comfortable tying with. I know some beginners will use like thread or some yarn, so you can get something like that and sit down and get ready with me, and I'll show you how to tie the uni knot. I'm gonna go nice and slow and I'm gonna explain it for you, and there's gonna be a little video on the bottom here that shows up close, so it's a good thing I just got my nails done so I can be like a little hand model for you guys. But we're gonna get started here on this plug I have, and let's do it. So get out just a little bit of your leader material. This is like ASMR here with the leader coming out. So you're gonna take your tag end, and you have the eyelet of your plug, and you're gonna pass it through. You're gonna grab your tag end and pull it and make a nice little loop like that. So I do a little pinch right here so I can get my bearings. So you have the leader material that's still attached to its spool, and then you have the tag end. Now, you're gonna take the tag end and loop it. So you're gonna make a loop like that. You can see right here is your loop. So now with that loop, I pinch it right here. So I have it right here. You can see the loop and the tag end. You're gonna take your tag end and you're going to pass it through the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can do 7 or 8 times. That was 7, lucky 7. So you're gonna have your tag end and pull. And I'm gonna use my teeth on there. So you're gonna pull. So you're gonna have something, let me see if it'll focus. You're gonna have something like that going on right there. So next up, you're gonna wanna use some of your spit and just put spit on that little like knot that you formed. And you're gonna take the end that's still attached to your spool and pull. You're gonna pull nice and tight. So you have something like that. And then of course you're gonna take your tag end and get your snips, they're attached to my car keys, and you're gonna cut. So that right there is the uni knot attached to a plug. Like I said before, you can attach it to a barrel swivel also, and you can attach it to a TA clip if you're striper fishing and you need to switch out plugs faster. All right, now that we got the uni knot down, we're going to switch gears to the uni to uni knot. So if you guys are practicing at home, I would recommend putting down your rope, whatever material you're practicing with, get yourself leader and braid, because you're gonna wanna feel the difference in each of the different materials you're working with, because there is a different feel and there's proper steps. So also by creating that muscle memory, it'll help you guys out. You'll be able to do this in the dark. Like there's times where I won't even look at what I'm doing and I'll be able to do it. Muscle memory is important and practice makes perfect. So let's go. So I have my rod behind me here. I have enough braid out. It's a little hard to see, but I got the camera in the corner to help you guys out. So let's put the braid here. We'll do some more leader ASMR. Get yourself some nice leader material. And I got my leader material in my left hand. I have my braid in the right. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put them together, and I'm gonna pinch the braid on my left hand and pinch the leader on my right hand. And we're gonna start with the leader material. So you see my tag end on the bottom here. I'm gonna make that same loop, but I'm making sure that I hold on to my braid material too. See, so you can see my braid is up top here. We're gonna take our tag end and we're gonna pass it through, how many times, folks at home? 7, lucky 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take our tag end and pull. Pull nice and tight. And it's gonna make that little loop there, make a nice little knot. That's picture perfect. That is the picture perfect we wanna see right there. I'm proud of that. Okay, moving on. We're gonna take the other end, and what I like on this part is I will pinch the leader that I just created that little uni knot with, and we're gonna take our braid. We're gonna give ourselves some room to work with and create that same loop. So I have my loop here with the braid and the leader material, and I'm gonna pass it through 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more time, 7. And we're gonna pull. And we're gonna create that same knot. Now they're a little ways apart, so you're gonna use your saliva again, and you're gonna wanna get spit all over where it has to meet, because you want them to pull through nicely. So now we're gonna take our braid, I'll wrap it around my fingers, same thing with my leader, and we're gonna pull tight, and we're gonna pull nice and tight, and they are gonna join together in unison, and you're gonna have that right there. Look at that, that's perfect. Now, of course, when you're done, you're gonna take your tag ends and you're gonna cut them. And there's a lot of times where people prefer to use the uni to uni knot instead of using a barrel swivel to reduce the jewelry on their rig. Now, however, there are times where you can't use a uni to uni knot. For example, the rod I'm using right now, I brought out on purpose because I can't use a uni knot on this rod. Why? That tip top guide, that loop is big enough for the uni knot to pass through, but the guides following that tip top are smaller. So if I'm fishing in the dark or I'm just totally not paying attention as I'm reeling in, and this uni knot gets past the tip top guide and knocks all those other guides, that could risk popping off one of those guides and I need to get it repaired. So there's certain rods that you have, like example, like if you're taking your buddy out fishing and he's never fished before, you don't want him busting one of those guides, tie a barrel swivel. But there's certain guides where you can go all for the uni to uni knot, like a bigger surf rod, like go for it. It just all depends on the extra jewelry and if your rod can handle it. So I hope you guys learned a helpful little knot to help you guys out land big fish. And I'll catch you guys next week on Open Boat.
I also want to remind you guys about Surfland Bait and Tackle's Surf Casting Demo Day, which takes place on the 18th this weekend. It basically runs business hours. It's a really unique event if you're a surf fisherman because it gives you the opportunity to try a bunch of different things. You can try rods and reels, you can match them up, you can get them, you can even try casting them, you can get them balanced. Find the one that fits your casting style the best. It's going to be industry reps there, there's going to be a bunch of great sales, and it's just one of those things you don't want to miss. If you're a surf fisherman too, you got to make sure you go to Surfland at least once. It's one of those classic surf casting tackle shops that has been around forever and really just caters to the surf fisherman. Of course, they provide services for all different types of anglers, but they are first and foremost a surf casting shop, and if you're a surf fisherman, you definitely want to check that place out. Last thing, of course, is a giveaway, which is ongoing. We're going to give away a flat glide needlefish, and you guys know the drill by now. It's it's got to show. You got to send in pictures showing you holding your fish. You send them to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen. And the only rule is it's got to be a recently caught fish. Other than that, it could be a boat, surf, inshore, offshore, freshwater. Doesn't matter to me. Get them in, and this one's going to wrap up on July 24th, so you got lots of time. Get them in, and we'll see who wins.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites.
Jumping over to the regional reports now. Talked to some guys up in Maine, and we are starting to see some nice sized striped bass in the rivers of southern Maine, like the Saco River, and even dropping down into New Hampshire in that river that runs across near Portsmouth. I can't remember the name of it right now. But a lot of nice fish in that area. A lot of fish in like the 25 to 35 inch class. They're chasing herring, they're chasing other bait fish, and they're taking a whole bunch of different types of lures. And the bite's been very good, so it's really great to see that. And as we all know, it's the time of year you can only go up from there. So good news from that region. Dropping down over the border now, we'll check in with James Jewkes, who says everything's on fire, and the fishing's been great, so here he is.
Here we go, Dave. Another week, another lot of fish. Just came from up near the Lawrence Dam. A little slow this morning. Yesterday was pretty good. Lots of guys catching fish up there, being stupid about things. Please just put your fish back. Don't snag herring. You know, all these things. Just take care of the fish. That's all. Sorry for the rant so early in the report, but I had to do it. Anyways, so a couple of announcements up front here. Jamil Ortiz is having his Salt Addiction Fishing Tournament up at the Lawrence Dam this Saturday. Registration's 4:30, ends at 6:30. Tons of great prizes, huge raffle table, all to support a local family in need. I think he's doing 2 families this year, actually, I think. Both disabled, well-deserving, great families. Jamil and his crew does a great job. Make sure you get up there and see that if you can, if not just to buy raffle prizes. Second one is Demo Day at Surfland Bait and Tackle down on Plum Island. I will be there. Lights Out Lures will be there 24/7. A few others. Come demo a rod. We have a crew on hand that'll take you over to the beach, and you can test a few setups, shoot the shit. Sorry for the language. But anyways, that's this weekend, 9 to 1 or something like that, 8:30 to 1. Anyways, 2 fun events. Definitely check them out if you can. As far as the reports are going, we have stripers from the ocean front on Plum Island all the way up the rivers all over the place. Essex, Ipswich, Parker, Merrimack, Seabrook. You name it, there's fish everywhere up here. And we've had fish that were pushing 40 inches. One kid sent me a picture. He had one roughly 35, 36 inches. Young kid. good kid, so congrats to him. Can't show you his picture right now, so. But everything else is just hammer time. If you're not out fishing, there's something wrong with you. Okay, not really, but fish as much as you can. I always tell people, you do you, I do me. Some people can't fish every day. Freshwater side, pike have been still caught in the river. Smallmouth and largemouth have slowed down a little bit. I haven't heard much, but some of the other guys are doing okay with carp and a few other things up above the dam. That's exciting. The shad has tapered off. The water's low. They've just become tough to get. I've stopped the last few mornings and blanked. So that's that. Other than that, enjoy your weekend because the fishing is going to be fantastic.
And now the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge entries for the week. The race is definitely on with a second place entry by Long Islander Anthony Savino. This time, it's his 2.2-pound sea robin that, when combined with his first place weakfish, puts him firmly in first place. It's no secret that the porgy fishing is raging, and another Long Island subscriber, Christopher Jones, entered a 2.2-pound porgy, placing him in first place for the porgy division and third place for overall points. The current second place entry for the porgy division is Long Island subscriber Brian Zembreski with this 2.14-pound hubcap. Current total standings look like this: Anthony Savino with 20 points, Frank Shea with 10 points, Christopher Jones with 10 points. To be part of the Dreamboat Challenge, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. Get all the details at thefisherman.com. Now the latest from the Coastal Kayak Clash. We had 3 fish hit the board this week. Ridgewood, New York's Peter Fiana started the bidding with this 16.5-inch weak fish. And we had 2 stripers as well. John Javoric of Mahwah, New Jersey, with this line sider of 35.5 inches, and Ken Stark of Tinton Falls had this 42-incher. The leaderboard looks like this. Justin Oser from New England has 6 points. Greg Sakowitz of New Jersey has 5 points. And new to the leaderboard is Ken Stark, also from New Jersey, with 3 points. To be part of the Coastal Kayak Clash, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. Get all the details at thefisherman.com.
Now we'll take a couple steps inland because I've been hearing great reports again from Wachusett Reservoir. This time it's not lake trout, it's smallmouth bass. We're seeing some really nice sized smallies coming out of Wachusett Reservoir, especially on the Clinton side. A lot of coves over there, and you can find some really good fish in that area. So that's something you can do if you're an inland guy. You want to do some freshwater fishing. Good stuff going on there right now. Heading back toward the coast, we've seen striped bass now from Boston down to Plymouth into the low 40-inch class. So some of these fish are getting up close to 30 pounds. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Also inland of that area, still very good largemouth bass fishing. So another 8-pounder this week. It seems like the pre-spawn is extended this year, for probably just because we've had a cooler than normal spring, and so largemouth bass are staying fat and they're feeding well. So you got that, and you also got great trout fishing in the area. Jump over the canal onto the Cape, freshwater side of things, a lot of the same things, a lot of big largemouth and lots of good trout fishing happening there. As I kind of hinted at last week, we are starting to see some of these bigger fish running along the Cape Cod Bay shores of Cape Cod. Saw some fish up into the low 40-inch class running those beaches. Guys are getting them on needlefish and live eels and redfins and things like that. So that's firing up again just like it did last year. That's exciting stuff. As you get further out onto the Cape, though, out toward East Ham, Orleans, Truro, that area, Wellfleet, on the ocean side, things are much slower. We're seeing a lot smaller fish in that area, mostly inside places like Town Cove, Nauset Inlet, or Pleasant Bay. And but still a good sign. Things are firing up. Things are starting up. So a lot of small paddle tails are getting it done in that area, but also some topwater action. As you get down more toward the canal, it gets more exciting. We saw a couple new classes of fish enter the canal this week. Seemed to be a contingent of 30 to 36-inch fish in the canal, and then another contingent of like 20 to 30-pound fish in the canal. From what I heard, it seemed like the better fish, or the bigger fish, were showing up at the bottom of the tide. I don't know if that's going to be something that continues, but it's something that I was able to derive from the reports I was getting. A lot of top water action, pencil poppers, things like super strike poppers, and of course the ubiquitous magic swimmer was getting it done as well. For a little bit more on what's going on in the canal, let's check in now with East End Eddie.
Hi Dave, another beautiful day here in the Cape Cod Canal. We got a dropping west tide behind me, and the water temperature's jacked up to 52 degrees, so that's great. Another couple of degrees and we'll really be in business. So the breaking tides are gone, but it's still good fishing on the canal. The East End has a pretty good size school of mackerel, so stripers are coming in from Cape Cod Bay and hitting that and going back, mostly on a west tide. And but the most action has been on the west end on both sides of the canal. Guys are jigging off the bottom using paddle tails like the Bill Hurley Canal Killer, which is in white color is my favorite jig. And guys have been very successful with that, picking up slots. Some fish bigger. One guy had one up to 20 pounds. So it's been good on and off like always once it starts, but there's actually better tides even coming up in a week or so. So Victor Vila caught a couple of fish the other day. He's from Marlborough, nice guy, and two experienced canal rats, Steve Colleran from Buzzards Bay, and the Pride of Brighton, Jimmy Kelly, both did well the other day. And Steve caught a nice fish on a Al Gagg's pink paddle tail. Steve uses pink a lot, even when there's no squid in the water. He does very well with it. And I was talking with a nice kid the other day, Jack Gagnon. He's from Westport, and he's a freshman at UMass Dartmouth, and he caught his first fish in the canal, and it was a keeper. It was a slot. So congratulations to Jack. He was using a bone-colored swimmer, so I guess he's probably addicted for life now. And he's a nice guy, so congratulations and welcome to the ditch, Jack. And so my tip of the week is just be careful when you're descending this riprap stone bank down to the water to fish, because these rocks are treacherous and they're not all very stable. Sometimes even these big boulders move. So just kind of test it with your other foot before you set your weight on it, and just be very careful, because no fish is worth a concussion. So take care and catch a big one. I'll see you next week.
The best striper fishing that isn't in the canal is happening in Buzzards Bay for Massachusetts right now. And Buzzards Bay is really where everything starts. We saw a new class of fish pushing into Buzzards Bay as well. These fish are on the larger side, 25 to 35 pounds. A lot of guys getting it done at night from the surf with needlefish, with big paddle tails, with glide baits, things like that. Also darters are getting it done. Daytime guys are doing it with big paddle tails and big walk the dog style plugs like the dock. Seeing some really nice fish coming out of there, but of course all sizes are represented, so it's not like it's a free-for-all of giants, but there's a lot more bigger fish that have moved in since the new moon, and that's, to me, is really good news. We're seeing lots of tog action still happening, and even some really nice tog up toward the canal, but out toward Westport, same deal. Some scuppers starting to show up in the area, and sea bass isn't open yet, but that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Moving over to Rhode Island, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Steve. Hey guys, nice to be back. Got a quick report for you guys for a little bit of southeastern Massachusetts and the East Bay of Rhode Island. I'm going to start in the Coles River in Swansea. And I look back at my records and things aren't where they were the last 3 years. I haven't caught a fish yet in that river yet this year. And by this time last year, there was tons and tons of schoolies in there. I just haven't seen a flux of smaller bass come into the little river systems with bait. I mean, obviously they're on the tail of the bait, But I haven't even seen any bait swimming around. I've had multiple tries in the Coles River. I've fished the incoming, the outgoing. Nothing yet. The same goes for the Lees River. I got my buddy John who fishes that, and he's told me it's been really slow there too. He got one fish this whole season out of Lees River. And normally the Lees River is pretty hot about this time, and he hasn't connected. So, I mean, I don't know if it's concerning or the fish just haven't really got into these rivers yet. So just be on the lookout. I know the fish are out in the bay, in Mount Hope Bay. If you follow the Coles River out, you get to Spar Island, it merges with the Kickamuit River up to Mount Hope Point. There's a fleet of boats out there catching fish in the channel, right at the mouth of where, you know, all four of these rivers converge into Mount Hope Bay, across from Fall River, Tiverton, through this Connecticut River mouth opening that comes into Mount Hope Bay. There's been lots and lots of fish being caught on flutter spoons, people bucktailing. Tautog has been great also in the Mount Hope Bay area. If you get on the bridge pilings, that's probably going to be your best bet to catching some bigger fish. But I mean, they are henpecked by lots of anglers all week long. But it's been a steady bite. And if you can find a couple of rock piles over near Church's Cove, you might do even better over there. Those are a lot of the rock piles that not too many people actually get on into Tautog fish, which I used to do. And it could make or break your day if you just move along and find those little small rock piles that are singled out. They have some big fish on them. Moving into the Warren and Barrington River, it's been a little slow there for striped bass too. My last outing, I connected one fish. That's it. I did have an outing inside the bay on Saturday morning. We got out into, we kind of like went all the way around Prudence Island. And once we got on the east side of Prudence Island, right at Dyer Island, we found a fleet of boats and we fished and we connected. And, you know, I got my first almost 30-pound fish of the season this year, fishing on a 6-inch gulp paddle shad. I outfished my cousin who was fishing the flutter spoon, and I had a heck of a day, believe it or not. All in all, I think within about 2-hour range, we got about 8 or 9 fish. That one slot, everything else was over slot. So there are some big fish inside of the bay. The fish I moved along, we got up closer to Bristol, and the fleet was still there. We just couldn't connect again. We, did a little watching, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of big bass in the bay and in Mount Hope Bay. You just need to find the pods of them and just fish them heavy. And that would be my tip for this week. So if you're out there fishing, I think things are going to get better. And cheers to Massachusetts Sea Bass Opener on Saturday. I'll be out there fishing. So tight lines, guys, and hope you catch them all.
What I've been hearing from the bay, from Narragansett Bay and Mount Hope Bay, is that the striped bass action is really starting to catch fire. We're seeing a lot more bigger fish. We're seeing a new class of fish moving in, just like we're seeing in Buzzards Bay. I heard about a school of some nice fish, like 25 to 35 pound fish moving up the Sakonnet River on a school of bunker this week. Those fish have since dispersed or moved up into Mount Hope Bay, but it's indicative of what's going on. It seems like it's an especially good year for bunker this year, which bodes well for Narragansett Bay. I think we're going to see some really big fish coming out of the bay over the next several weeks. At the same time, there was another movement of fish kind of in the vicinity of the Mount Hope Bridge. These fish were of mixed sizes, from 30 inches up to like 25 pounds. Rumors were that there were some bigger fish in the mix as well. Flutter spoons and big paddle tails were the two top takers in that area, although a few guys were getting them on top waters as well. And as those fish spread out, we should see more fish in Mount Hope Bay. We should see more fish up the Taunton River. There's already some pretty good concentrations of fish in places like Bristol Harbor, the north end of Prudence, and then up toward Providence. So very good striped bass fishing going on right now throughout Narragansett Bay. And they're being caught using a variety of methods. For a little bit more on that and some of the other things going on in that region, we're going to check in first with Jeff Sullivan. Here he is.
Hey Dave, what's happening? Jeff back with a weekly video. I got a quick report for you guys this week. Let's start off with the striped bass side of things. It's on like Donkey Kong. Whether it be herring, whether it be pogie schools, or even squid. There's a lot of fresh fish still showing up in our bay, by the thousands, it seems like. Big schools, and the big fish are now knocking on the door. They just entered our bay. These fish are big. They're stacked. They're full. They're fat. Every fish we've been getting, their bellies have been full, either full of bunker or full of herring or full of squid. So if you find those schools of squid, herring, or bunker, you're in good shape. Stick by those schools. They're on them. So, whether it be the shad spoons, the big Ben Parker spoons, the metal lips, a lot of shads, or squid presentations. The tautog bite. The tautog bite is on. The tautog bite is still on. It's still good. We have till June 1st to get these fish. Under 10 feet of water with the jig, with a 3/4 ounce jig, it is probably the best bite you can get on right now. That tautog bite is just awesome. On green crabs, or if you can get your hands on Asian crabs, just stack them on the hook, guys. Stack those Asians on the hook and just chuck it in there. Chuck it on the mussel bed. Chuck it in some boulder fields, some docks, some, shallow water wrecks. If you guys are from shore, find some mussel beds. You'll find some nice fish in there. There's a lot of nice blackfish right now too, as well. Now the freshwater side of things. Man, oh man, freshwater is going off too. I thought I was going to get some sleep this week, but I guess not. The largemouth bite has just been as good as it could possibly get. Still getting fish up to 7 pounds. I'm doing a lot of night trips. They're eating wake baits. They're eating top water plugs, eating big swim baits, it's just been on fire. And the big surprise this week for me was the crappie bite. I unlocked the code for crappie. We're getting huge crappie, and they're awesome fish to fish for you freshwater people out there that don't do saltwater fishing. Get on that crappie bite. I'm telling you right now, it is awesome. They're a huge crappie right now. They're spawning. They are chowing. The smallmouth bite. The smallmouth bite is on. Small spinner baits, Ned rigs, and little jigs. Bounce them off the bottom. And where I'm at, they're bedding right now. They're getting ready to be on the beds. So the little footballs. They're awesome. They're nice and bronzed. They're nice and colored up. It's just a fun time to be a fisherman. Like I said last week, you can't complain. This is like Christmas morning every day. So, yeah, Dave, that's all I got this week. Fishing has just been incredible. And it's just going to keep getting better and better, which is even crazy to even think about. So, so it's 5 a.m. I'm going to get going, get my rigs on the boat. Hopefully, get on the spoon bite and the shad bite this morning. And hopefully have another report for you guys next week. All right, guys, tight lines. Thanks.
As you get out of the bay and even into the approaches to the bay, the tautog fishing continues to really impress. The bridge pilings on the Jamestown Bridge, the Newport Bridge, and the Mount Hope Bridge are putting out some nice sized tautog right now, and all those rocky shorelines are doing the same. We're seeing lots and lots of good tautog fishing going on right now. A lot of squid moving inshore, which is fueling some good striped bass activity, but it's also starting to call in some of these flukes. So out by Block Island and then along South County, we're seeing a lot more fluke activity right now, although from what I've heard, everyone I've spoken to, no keepers yet. All these fish are undersized, but with these squid moving in and the water warming up, it shouldn't be long before we start seeing some bigger fish. So this week might be a good time to try if you're looking to get in on some fluke fishing. Along the South County beaches, not much really changed from last week other than the fact that big bluefish showed up. So we saw 12 to 15 pound bluefish showing up along the South County shorelines. They're in the breachways or on the beaches, and it's mostly a daytime thing, but there's some bruisers out there, so that's cool. Striped bass activity along the beaches has been a mix. Fish from 25 to 35 inches with a few bigger ones up to like 44 inches. A lot of topwater activity, a lot of good fishing happening at night right around the breachways on swimmers and darters and glide baits and things like that. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week.
The Coastal Kayak Clash is back for 2024. Win this Old Town Sportsman PDL 120 fully outfitted by yakatak.com. Our second place winner will take home this Humminbird Helix 7. Win third place and you walk away $500 richer. And there are many other ways to win as well. We've got reels from Daiwa and lures and gear from Yozori. If you fish from a kayak and you're a Fisherman subscriber, you're eligible to enter the CKC. Catch one of 8 qualifying species. Photograph them next to a flat ruler showing the Fisherman tag with your kayak clearly visible and get yourself on the leaderboard. This kayak-only tournament kicks off May 1st and ends November 30th. Get all the details at thefisherman.com.
Jumping over the border into Connecticut, we'll start things off with our herring expert. Here's Kevin Job.
Thanks, Dave. Just wrapping up what will be second to last herring report for us. Just hiked out of the Connecticut River Valley, was in here checking out a small blueback run, just looking to see if we could see any fish. Unfortunately, we didn't see any fish today up and down the river. We did truck some shad first thing this morning, and there were a few bluebacks up by Holyoke in the lift, but I can count them on one hand. We did have a showing of blueback herring in the river end of last week, which was good to see. Really small numbers, but it was definitely a breath of fresh air after not seeing those fish really since 2021. It's a few fish, but a few fish can make a lot of fish. So hopefully it is a good sign. Our alewife runs, Eastern Connecticut, we've actually pulled all of our equipment out for counting. Those fish left in mass last week. There's still some, shoreline spawning going on that we're seeing in the evenings, whether it's fish dropping down, just kind of having a final hurrah, or if it's just some late fish that have just kind of, that's what they do. They spawn at the head of tide there. We are still seeing some of those fish. And again, there's stripers on them, so if you find them, have fun. But then moving into western and central Connecticut, still seeing the last of the alewife run really tapering off here. Again, I can count them on two hands, but we still have fish coming in, so not quite over yet. And then unfortunately, really no blueback showing. Some of the bigger rivers over that way did get a push of fish this last week, which was good. I know a lot of the striper guys over there were, really struggling, so it seems like it brought some fish to their feet, which was nice. Unfortunately, to trying to get our hands on those fish to actually sample them, the numbers were still small. If you see them at 2 o'clock in the morning, it is really helpful, but it's hard for us to get out there with the equipment to always get into those fish. So again, I really appreciate everybody reaching out to me, letting me know when and where they have fish, and we have been able to get out and actually sample fish. So those tips that you guys have all been sending me through emails has been awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for that. It's been really nice having a bunch of different eyes in places that we don't have the human power to cover it these days. So it's been really nice. And plus we can, check those boxes off for, okay, yeah, we did have some fish come back. It may have only been a few nights in a row, but again, a few hundred fish is better than some of these areas no one saw fish in the last 2 seasons. So, all this news it's good news. We'll see with next week. I'll be trucking shad for most of this week, and then I'll be like this. I'm getting out in the evenings and just trying to see if we have blueback herring runs in our larger rivers. We still have our video monitoring equipment out, so we're recording on those big rivers, and we'll be monitoring those and counting those as we go into early summer here. So it's just a lot of video to review, but this year was not as bad as last year. As I kind of hinted at last week, some of the places were still pretty slow, especially for eastern alewives. But again, all together, we're going to be up from last year. One of our bigger runs was up 32% from last year. So I'm going to take it right now. So thank you so much for tuning in and for always, reaching out to me and let me know what you guys see. It's been a huge help, and I'll see y'all next week. Thank you so much.
Now in eastern Connecticut, we are seeing a lot of striped bass activity, especially up inside the Thames River, where there's been a good amount of bunker, and we've seen mixed sizes of striped bass from schoolies all the way up to like 40 inches, let's say, in that range. A lot of these fish are being caught on bait. Guys are doing it with chunks, guys are doing it with sea worms and things like that. But the activity that's spilling out of the river onto the adjacent beaches has mostly been with plugs. So guys are doing it with the dock, guys are doing it throwing big metal lips, Guys are doing it with poppers and pencil poppers and things like that. You're also going to catch some fish, troll and tube and worm if you want to do that in the area, and obviously live eels are going to get it done as well. We also heard for the first time this year some fish moving into the race. These stripers are more like in the 30 to 33, 34 inch class, so right around slot size. And most of these fish are being caught on diamond jigs, although you can definitely do it with top waters at first light, especially with slower tides. And I'm sure you can do it with a bucktail or something like that as well. Heading up toward Niantic, word is the stripers are everywhere in that region, but they're mostly on the smaller side, so under slot and just barely over the threshold of the slot. These fish are coming out of Niantic Bay, Millstone, up inside the Niantic River. Just really good congregated striper activity there. As you get closer to the Connecticut River, that striped bass activity becomes a little bit more exciting. We're starting to see some bigger fish around the mouth of the river, and we're seeing still very good activity up inside the river. For a little bit more on that, let's start things off with Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? For this week's fishing report, the spring striped bass migration has been in full swing. They're coming through the western Long Island Sound and the eastern Long Island Sound. These fish are covered in sea lice. They're hitting flutter spoons, large soft plastics, and small metal jigs. They're also making their way up into the rivers and estuaries, so that's been fishing well. The bunker haven't showed up yet where I'm at, but hopefully in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, we should start seeing the bunker show up. The fish I've been catching, I've been feeding heavily on butterfish, herring, and shad. No bluefish yet, but I expect to probably see that after next week's full moon, so stay tuned.
Now we'll stay in the Connecticut River region, and we'll check in with Rowan Lytle. Here he is.
Hey everybody, so the Connecticut rivers were warming up and dropping nicely. Dropped about another foot still from last week, clearing up very well. Biggest push of shad so far the season happened last week. Most of these fish are already well through the state up into Massachusetts. There still should be a few trickling in the main stem of the river, so for those of you out looking for shad, there's still a few around, but most of them have pushed through. Plenty of migratory stripers in the river. Certainly be aware there's still a lot of poaching going on in herring runs, both of the herring themselves and stripers. Be on the lookout for that. Please do call it in if you see people poaching. It's a big and still kind of growing problem, unfortunately. As far as the freshwater species, non-anadromous species go, carp, bowfin, very active on the warmer days, and smallmouth and largemouth kind of getting on the beds. In the more pressured areas, please do try to avoid targeting the bedded bass. They're getting pretty shy on beds. It's not as easy to target them as it might otherwise be a lot of seasons. And I think big part of that's they're kind of used to getting targeted while they're on the bed. So give those fish some space while they're doing their thing. But they're fairly active. The warm days are getting good for topwater now. So plenty of good fishing to be had in the Connecticut River.
Now heading out of the river out toward Westbrook, we'll check in quickly with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up everyone, Matt here at Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. Things are definitely warming up out there. We've had some warmer nights recently. Bluefish moving into the Long Island Sound. I got my first of the year yesterday, had a few of them hit. Good sized ones, which is pretty cool. We always like those guys at first, so those are cool to see. Definitely a sign that things are moving in the right direction. Overslot fish are definitely becoming more prominent. We're starting to get much more of those smaller fish with lice on them, things like that. A lot of good flats fishing this time of year, so you're looking for like a shallow area next to like a channel maybe or something like that. Those fish love to stage on there. They're warming up this time of year because the water's still nice and cool, so when they can get that sun on those flats, chase bait in shallower water, it's a happy place for them. Really fun to fish too. You use bigger top waters, 5 to 7 inch soft plastics like Lunker City, finesse fish, sluggos. Those have been doing really well. Paddle tails, anything like that is really fun to fish on those flats. Game on X-Walk for top waters. You could throw a dock right now, maybe the little dock. The big one, there's not a ton of fish that size around. Of course they're around, but not kind of that big biomass of migratory fish that we're waiting on. But they will be here right when they intend to be, as always. Other than that, some early fluke fishermen are doing pretty well. They're finding fish shallow, 15 to 30 feet. Prepare to hop around because it is still pretty early in fluke season, of course. And that's the report. Good luck.
Now, as we mentioned in the intro, sea bass season does open this weekend. I don't have any sea bass reports to share with you guys, but you know, if you're rip roaring to go, you want to go and get in on it. That Central Sound, those deep ledges in the Central Sound might be a good place to try. There has been some porgy activity, but most of it's been on the other side. So if you want to catch porgies, you want to head over to Peconic Bay. That's been the area where the best action has been happening, and you might get into some weak fish there as well because the catches there have been pretty good for weekies. Along the shore, heading from the Connecticut River out toward Norwalk, there's been just an increase in bigger bass. We heard about the first 50-pound striper of the year that I've heard of anyway, which is caught by you know, trophy hunter John Freone. It's a 52-pounder taken in the New Haven area. So that's good news, and as you get further west, there's just more and more of these bigger fish. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Max Finch from Fisherman.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. This past week, the striper fishing has been fantastic. We've seen fish, you know, to over 35 pounds on our local reefs. South of the islands like the Triangle, 28C, 11B, Eaton's Neck. Green's Ledge has some nice fish also. There's been some really nice fish, you know, in and then outside the islands around our local rock piles, rips, reefs, especially our shallow water reefs like Kopecky Shoals. We've seen some pretty big striper blitzes. The bunker are moving in more and more every day, and this should just continue all the way as we move into June. Porgy fishing's been a little slower on our side. There are some being caught at 28C. Most anglers are actually shooting across to Oyster Bay and Huntington. Remember always to bring clam chum. And then the fluke fishing, there's some on our side. It's a little spotty. You really got to pound these local areas like 26 and 24. I saw some limits, you know, off of Sherwood, but I was talking to these guys. They said, you know, they fished all day for 3 fish each, 2 people. But most people are, you know, shooting across Port Jeff, Smithtown Bay, the golf course, inside Huntington. We've seen some fish to like 8 pounds this past week, been really nice. You know, spearing, smell, squid strips work really good. Also gulp. A lot of people are, you know, really uptight to the beaches, starting 10 and then drifting. And if you do catch a keeper, you know, mark the spot and just keep pounding that area. Thanks and good luck.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. The striped bass fishing is definitely king right now. A lot of good sized fish around. Whether you want to do it from boat, surf, kayak, it doesn't matter. We're seeing some really nice fish being caught throughout really the entire region, and now all the way up into Maine. We're seeing fish in the mid 30-inch class. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware up to Maine. We have travel features that reach outside the region. We do lots of how-to stuff. It's $29.95 for the year. You're going to get 12 paper magazines sent to your house. You're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email, which with that cost, you're also going to get access to all of our back issues, and you're going to get digital access to our other editions. So if you sign up for New England, which is the one that I work for, you'll also get digital access to the Long Island edition and the New Jersey edition. It's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. That's a guarantee. But if you're still not interested after you check the website, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.